Even though Japan switched to the XRP system, prices won't go through the roof in the next few months. Japan will also allow yen-backed stablecoins to be used on the blockchain. So we start to wonder what technology will be used to build this. Will it be built on a lot of different technologies? That's right, this movie is going to look at all the links between Japan, Ripple, and XRP. Guys, I have a lot of great information to share with you. Let's take a closer look and see what's going on. We now have a post from Diana in the group. Diana asks if Japan's use of XRP could cause the price to skyrocket to $22. Korea turned XRP into a huge deal. The world market won't just move if Japan does the same, it might go off. The September doubleheader in Seoul could send the liquidity jolt that XRP has been waiting for. Korea is the big sleeper. They say that there are about 53 million regular XRP users, which is 13% of the population and 20% of the world's XRP volume, or 500 to 700 million daily flows. I did need to check the accuracy of some of this information, and this is just to give you some thoughts. This wallet count is a little off. Reports on active wallets in South Korea say that there are about 7.1 million wallets listed or linked to Korean users on the exchange. That being said, this number includes all wallets, are duplicates, and a lot of them have very small or no amounts. I just want to give you that extra point of view. Japan is the factor that has the power to break markets. Japan's 125 million people. Japan would have 16 million XRP users, which is the same as Korea's 13% usage rate. That's 2.3 Korea's weapons. Possible daily amount of 1.1 to 1.4 billion XRP. The shockwave of 500 to 700 million won a day from Korea and 1.1 to 1.4 billion yen a day from Japan would add up to 1.6 billion to 2.1 billion yen a day in retail liquidity. When you add institutional ODL routes to the mix, the supply squeeze gets really bad. What does this mean for the price of XRP? Price of XRP doesn't go up or down when traffic doubles, as history shows. Instead, prices explode. If the dates are right, the rising window in September and November before events is worth $5. After events, it's worth $8 to $10. And by the end of the year, ETF and institutional flows will add another $12 to $22. September is also the same as XRP's double nuclear trigger. I hope you can make it to XRP Seoul 2025 on September 21st. There's an SBI, XRP Ledger Labs, new corridors, treasury adoption, or ODL expansion that Ripple executive is in charge of. This means they might have some new news to share, which we'll bring to you live on the channel as soon as we get it. September 22nd and 28th, Korea Blockchain Week, Asia's biggest and busiest blockchain event. The world's attention on XRP, back-to-back stage time, back-to-back liquidity shockwaves. SIA and Japan's trump card, SBI Holdings, is Ripple's best friend in Asia. It runs SBI Remit and SBI VC Trade and already links Japan and SIA channels. Japan and Korea will be able to use XRP payments right away. Dan is saying that the tracks are real and not just an idea. The global effect that happens when Korea and Japan work together is that Western traders chase the rise, order books thin out, and XRP prices go through the roof. Korea lit the match, and Japan could set off the rocket. Is Japan about to make XRP worth $20 or more? Let's listen to the Paul Barron now. I did want to say that if a lot of new people sign up, that will definitely be good for XRP's price. I think there are already some people in Japan who own XRP. You can't just wake up and expect 16% of the people to use something. Something very bad would have to happen. For example, the government could say, we're going to make a government stable coin on the Ripple CBDC system. If something like that happens, it could change everything. Now, I do believe that yen-backed stablecoins will appear I think it will be on most of them eventually as countries change. Like in the US, for example, we want the US dollar to do well whenever possible. If the US dollar stays the world's reserve currency, people all over the world will treat Americans as such. Anywhere we go, we can spend our money. There are other countries that also want their currencies to get some attention. Imagine having digital euros, pounds, Swiss francs, yen, and any other cash you can think of. Let's play this now. Video of Paul Barron. Japan cuts taxes on XRP. Will the US follow? Let's play. Japan, you need to think about SBI. One of the largest companies in the world is SBI. One reason is that they are committed to Ripple and have been for a while. They keep getting bigger. Based on how much XRP they actually own, they currently hold 9% of the market. People who own shares in them are telling them not to sell XRP because it will cause their stock to drop. We need more. So the stock keeps going up. There is a lot going on there. The CEO of Ripple says that by 2020, all banks in Japan will use XRP. You should know that Crypto Irie, who is from Japan, came out and said that this was not what was said here. I just wanted to let you know that's what I think about it. In fact, this wasn't said the way it was said. By 2025, every bank in Japan will use XRP. Think about this. Every bank in a country will use just about anything. It's likely that one tool won't be the best across the whole network. Now, if you get 25% adoption or 50% adoption, those are crazy numbers. It's possible that all banks would decide to use XRP one day. I don't think that's possible, but feel free to tell me I'm wrong in the comments. Now that it's 5, I'm not sure if they're talking about the end of 2025 or something else, but this has been a big story for a while. Okay, that's it. They have been April 28th, 2022. Okay, nothing fishy. FinTech Summit just took place not long ago. You can also look at these speakers. The digital minister is one of the main guests, and he just so happened to meet Brad Garlinghouse right there. Look, we met this week in Tokyo. Their leaders want to make Bitcoin and blockchain technology better. You can see that there is a clear link between what is going on in Japan, both with the government and with Ripple in general. I want to also talk about this right here because this is another thing going on. This is Sony's bank wall. Okay, let's quickly go over. Oh, I see. Did they skip over that? Hold on to one more thing. This is something you sent me today. It's about Ripple meeting with Japanese leaders and a few other things. It was in September. However, if you look further in, this is where they were talking with Tyra. There it is. As they talked about a project, it's clear that this has been planned for a while. If you read further down the page, this program will continue and be called Project PAX. That means that Progmat Data Chain Toki will run it. Okay, one more thing. Let's keep going. You can see Brad Garlinghouse. We just talked about this shot with Paul Barron. In fact, they cut it here, but here is Monica Long too. I know this guy works for Ripple. Sure, I just can't think of the student's name. Sorry about that, but Emi Yoshikawa has been a key part of getting Ripple adopted in Japan. That's great to see. The guy's name is Eric Van M. I'm truly sorry. Okay, this clip came out about 6 to 8 months ago, or somewhere in that range. Please excuse me. August 2026, it came out a year ago. Oh my God, it goes by so fast. But this talk was really interesting. You need to know that Japanese banks have been closed. Being ISO and having worked in this field for a long time, they knew that blockchain would be the next big thing in payments. That's why banks, mostly in Japan, have been trying out the XRP system. This pretty much says it all. In fact, Japan is a culture that people who live in Japan will definitely. Please let me know if the number is right. There were about 200 banks that I looked at, along with Google and a few other places. But if you have 50 banks, that's 1/4 of all the banks that were tested. There have also been other tests, sandboxes, and consortiums in Japan with more banks, which we know about. We know that a lot of banks understand the technology and have tried it out. You should also keep in mind that SBI has a lot of customers in that area, as well as in Japan and all over Asia. These people are bullish on things. For example, Yoshitaka Katao, the head of SBI, was an early investor in Ripple and XRP. They built all this technology around the XRP ledger because they know how important it is, okay? After that, Rotha Koopman says that SBI Holdings says they are in talks to handle RLUSD and SBI VC trade as of May. There is still talk of Ripple payments using XRP. Still, it will be interesting to see what goes on with them. If and when the JPY stablecoin goes live, that's why we're going to talk about it, right? The site is now live. This Rath Economin post from way back in was made last month in July 2025. However, I think this is an older copy of a document that talks about how they invested in Ripple in 2016 and now own 9% of its shares. Then today, Chad Steingraber put this up. Japan will use both RL and RLUSD, yen, all of Japan's XRP. That's a bit more information. I said, yes, I did want to get some more information. Of course, I put it into question this way since that's what we do. We want to know more about the situation and how it might affect our interests. So possible effects on Ripple and XRP make it easier to combine them. Its main job is to handle payments between countries, and it usually tries to work with controlled digital assets, stablecoins, and digital currencies issued by central banks. RippleNet could add support for regulated yen stablecoins if they become very popular. This would make the network more useful for businesses and financial institutions that deal in yen-denominated trades and make XRP more liquid. XRP is meant to be a bridge asset that lets people send and receive money between different currencies and countries. Introducing and using controlled yen stablecoins opens up new channels for Ripple's on-demand liquidity product. This makes it easier to exchange yen stablecoins for other assets, which could lead